Welcome to The Collective, where every conversation ignites a new perspective. Join us as we delve into the journeys of remarkable individuals, explore the art of growth, resilience, and the power of a shared mission as we strive to be better together. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Gold Mine. We have another fantastic show for you planned out today. We got Tom here, his first appearance. I am stoked to get into this, and while I am stoked, y'all should be too. Do the things like the show, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, do all that good stuff, get your emails when we go live, which is of course Wednesdays for The Gold Mine and Fridays for The Collective. If you have any thoughts, questions, comments, anything at all, put them up in the comment section. We can hit those throughout the show. And if you have not already and you want to stay in the loop with everything that is Collective, make sure you sign up for the Reinforcement Loop. That is our weekly newsletter. It goes out on Sundays with all the good information as well as some thoughts from Shaun. Excellent read.
Dude,
Definitely
how good was that one?
That was a pretty good one.
How good was
Very
that
nice,
newsletter? Hey,
That was sick.
Come
I
on.
liked it.
but only exceeded by your intro.
It was
Hey,
pretty clean.
freaking nailed it.
Pretty clean.
Yeah,
Pretty
The
clean.
last couple have been a bit
I
sketchy.
know, that's
because
why
I was all excited, but
There
today
you
was
go,
like,
all jazz hands.
Yeah,
Good
exactly.
to keep it in context.
I'm tracking.
I hear that.
It's awesome. Now, I just want to remind everybody, there's some issues with the Instagram feed. So if you're not seeing it on the Instagram, it's not quite feeding over. I'm not sure why, but you're going to have to watch on the YouTube. So you know. Let's get right into the convo. Tom, why don't you give us a quick little rundown, 10, 15 seconds. Who are you? Where you come from? All that good stuff.
Cool. Hey, I'm Tom Samuelak. I am from Fruitvale, British Columbia, Nashville guitarist and producer last 12 years, since 2012, and presently playing lead guitar with Tim Montana.
Bam. I like it. Shaun, how's the mountain treating you?
Dude, I'd totally forgotten that you haven't been on the potty before. Because, I mean, we've hung out a couple of times. I was like, oh, yeah, like, oh, Tom's on the show. Cool. Like, no big deal. But it is a big deal. So,
Thanks for having me.
Good to
Glad to
see
be
ya.
here. Good to see you.
This is awesome. I've been looking forward to this one for a little while, and it's been kind of back and forth for a couple of weeks to get this lined up, but we got it sorted, and I'm excited. I want to talk music. I want to talk all things music, but before we get deep into it, Tom, why don't you give us a little rundown how it started for you? Were you always musical? Did you have to learn the hard way? How did it go down?
Okay, that's a good question. I didn't really even like music until I heard Elvis Presley when I was about 7. I thought, man, this is crazy. It's like, I just love the energy of it. And then my uncle brought over a case of Budweiser and had this CD that back then they were including CDs inside a case of beer. There's this band called Boot Sauce with their song Crack of Dawn. And it was like hard rock. And I was like, this is what I've been missing. Like, I love this. And I cranked it through this boombox for like forever, on repeat. And so then I went to grade 4, and there was these bass guitars on the wall that had this lightning finish on them. And I thought, wow, that looks so cool. It's like hard rock looking thing. And then me and my buddies were talking about it on the way home, like, how cool did that look? And it ended up actually that for Christmas that year I got a guitar, and I just kind of that started the spark.
I love it. Played it till your fingers bled, like the old Bryan Adams song.
Oh man, that guitar that my dad gave me, actually, like, the strings were like super high off the fretboard, which is extremely difficult to play. So he was actually really nice, and he decided that he could tell that I wasn't going to get into it if it was this guitar that's like super onerous to play, So he got me one that was like butter.
A little
The
softer.
next day, yeah, electric. So I learned
Okay.
on an electric, yeah.
Nice. That's a way to do it. I actually had a buddy of mine. He's a teacher. We do jiu-jitsu together, but he teaches music, and he was like, I learned how to play guitar on a 12-string. And so when I started doing bar chords, it was like he had to be super strong on his fingers, and I was like, that
Dude.
is insane.
That is insane.
That is
Yeah,
insane.
it's like, I actually tell people, like, whatever you get something that's easy to start with, because there's nothing more discouraging than something that hurts, right? So especially
Yeah.
for kids.
Yeah. Pain is as an adult, it's something you can kind of compartmentalize a little bit. But as a kid, yeah, it's like, no, I don't want to touch this. Shaun, how did you start with music?
I got a question for you, Tommy, but I'll kick out how I started with music. So I guess when I was I was born and raised in England for the first 10 years of my life. And right about the time I was 8 years old, my mom decided that I was going to start playing piano, or should start playing piano, because on her Irish side, all her brothers and sisters are all musical. In fact, my Uncle Shay was kind of a big deal in Ireland. They used to tour through the US playing frickin' Elvis songs. And believe it or not, he could crack out an Elvis song that would almost make you weep. I mean, the dude was talented. And so my mom figured maybe I had some talent in me. So there I was playing piano, Mozart, Bach, all of the stuff. And I played piano for nearly 10 years. And along the way, I started off with, when we moved to Grand Cache, I started off in the high school band, or the elementary school band, I suppose, with clarinet. And that clarinet then went to flute and trombone and trumpet and saxophone and frickin' everything. I played every single instrument known to man except the two cool ones. You guessed it, guitar and drum. And, I'm going to stop right there on my sort of music entry, and then now go back to when you were back in grade 4, and you see the guitar on the wall with the lightning bolts and all that good stuff. And like, I didn't have any of that. Like, I didn't see that when I was a kid. There wasn't anything like that. There was a freaking clarinet. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I'm now curious. Do you think if you hadn't have seen that guitar, if like that hadn't like been the super Fonzie cool moment, like if that hadn't have sealed the deal, do you think it would have been something else that sealed the deal? Or was it just that moment that really was a pivot in your life? Or did you feel it beforehand?
That's a really good question. I am not sure about that, but I do remember specifically that my buddy Tim introduced me to Metallica when I was like 11, and he showed me how to play the song "One" on acoustic guitar. So that was technically maybe one of the first guitar songs that I learned, and that had nothing to do with the lightning bolt experience. So I would say that the lightning bolt was the seed, and then everything else just kind of gradually happened. So I'm not sure really.
The one thing about especially instruments is, to your point a little bit ago, is like, if you're as a kid, if it's onerous to play, I found when I first got a guitar and I didn't really know anything, I didn't have that drive to like play anything until somebody showed me a song that I could play, or a song that I liked, or something that gave me that little bit of repeatability. And I find it kind of challenging nowadays, because there's lots of songs that I want to play, but I don't know how to play them. So it's a bit of a challenge. I have another particular question for you. We're just going to grill you here, Tom, with questions back and forth.
Light me up.
I'm wondering, has from when you first started as a kid till now, has your relationship with music changed? Has the way in which you interpret it, as the feel, how has it shifted?
Well, it's, if music is a language, I've become more proficient in it because I have to speak it every day. Whether I like to or not, it's like, oh man, I got to learn these songs for this gig. I'm flying out to California in 24 hours. I better polish this stuff up, so I don't really have a choice always. So I would say that my language proficiency has increased.
That's a good way to put it. Shaun, you got any thoughts?
Maybe take it in a bit of a different twist. What it might have done for you, Tommy, is it shaped your life, of course, but in ways that I suppose you never visualized and still haven't. You've yet to experience your life 10 years from now that'll be maybe radically different in all kinds of different ways because of music. And so I do know this, and I don't know anyone really in Fruitvale, but I do know this. The last time you were up here in Roslyn, you're hanging out in my house, like I'm trying to put my arm around you, but you're like sky high and I'm a shorty. So, like I put that photo up on my IG feed, and in the comments, like I was getting people that I don't know, that were chirping about, that dude's a legend. He was so cool when he was the coolest kid in grade 1 or whatever, like everyone in the region seems to know you. And seems to have like a high regard for you. And I'm not talking about the haters. Their haters are going to hate. And I didn't hear any of that, but I'm sure it's out there. But generally speaking, everyone who was all up in my comments was chirping about like what a great dude you are. And so, you're speaking the language of music, sure, but the language has shaped your life in a way that people are seeing maybe the symphony of your life. Who knows? What do you think?
Ooh, that's a heavy question. So, honestly, I would say that I feel like my life has been like stepping stones. Um, just kind of, I want to say like laid out for me, but I just like keep doing the next thing that makes sense for me, and it just keeps like going further and further. And I feel like my goal is just to ride this thing as far as it'll go for me, if that makes any sense. Um, and it some of like the craziest things, some of my wildest dreams have come true just from following my path.
I dig that. Now, Shaun, I got to ask you this question: who's taller, me or Tommy?
I think you might be.
Okay, good.
I think you might be.
I got to keep
Yeah.
the title as Big Bird.
But you're both like tall streaks of cabbage. So, but I'm a shorty, so everyone's kind of tall to me. But I'd say that you got him by a bit chance.
Yes. I got the title Big Bird. I can't not that would just change everything if all of a sudden that was that was the way it was. I want to talk about Nashville a little bit because it's a music heavy scene, and it's the community in that area is I'm not going to say I'm trying to think of the word, but you're not so centralized that you don't have any new ideas or music coming out of it. But what do you think is going on in Nashville right now? What is the vibe like in terms of music? Is it still kind of old school country? Is it still, or is it really evolving, changing? Like, is the community shifting?
Man, it's a hustle and bustle at all times here. I mean, if you go downtown, there's like 100 different stages on this street called Lower Broadway. There's 100 different stages, and from 10 a.m. till 2 a.m., there's live bands playing on every different stage in 4-hour increments. And so there's like live music. You can throw a stone and hit a guitar player. It's insane. Yes, there's 100% classic country. It's kind of more in the I don't want to say it's not in the spotlight anymore because but like basically it all follows money, and what makes the most money is radio. So radio country is in the highest spotlight right now, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that I'm tracking for sure. Shaun, you got any thoughts?
Well, with 100 stages, Chance, how come we haven't been on a stage yet down in Nashville doing a live musical podcast? I'm just saying, Tommy frickin' slamming in the background, you and I chirping about nonsense, maybe I'll pick up some drumsticks. I don't know. Could get crazy.
Dude, we got to do it.
Gotta do it.
We could pull it off. I think we could pull it off. The conversations would have to be a bit more rhythmic than they are right now, but like we'd have to do a whole set. It'd be fun. I'm wondering. Like, we've just came out of also. I'm gonna jump around a bit here, but we just came out of Men's Mental Health Month, and we've been talking mental health for this long while. But I know a lot of dudes, especially musicians, that use music as a form of therapy, as a form of existentialism, a little bit of release, all these things of like how to get their emotions out. And I'm wondering about yourself. Do you you use the music in that way, or is it more of a passive, you just playing allows you to kind of let go of stuff? What do you think?
When I fully when I tap in on the guitar, maybe if I'm alone, that is like an amazing release. And it's also like total creative freedom, right? And that is in itself an amazing release. But like a lot of times when I'm on stage, I have to be within the confines of the song or the show, so that's like a totally almost different ball game for me. But it's there's a couple songs I've written in the past that I've smashed out in 10 minutes, and I think it was Hank Williams Sr. said, if you can't write a song in 10 minutes, then the song's not worth anything. So I don't know if that's true or not, but there's a little bit of grain of truth in like being able to just have something to say and just say it real quick,
A little bit of poetry, a little bit of conscious effort towards it. I think that'd be a good way to put it. Shaun, what do you think? Like, when you listen to music, you use that as a bit of a therapy, right? Like as a way to manage the daily stresses. What do you
Yeah,
think?
well, so I'll be careful now for anyone who's listening. I just want to be careful with the language. I don't use music to manage my stresses. What I do is I use music throughout my day to overlay into my life, into the day, to make it more enriching. It's a richer life with music, I believe. And so, just when we were in the green room, just before we came live, I said I was just came out of the basement where I was slapping the heavy bag to a song by Journey called "Keep on Running," and it's pretty fast tempo, man. Bum 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 bum. Ba-da-da-da. Like it's kind of staccato and it's jerky. It's a bit off rhythm. It goes from slow to fast, and it goes high low. It's all over the ice. And so hitting the bag to that song, I could just like tune out and it'd be background noise, and it would have no relevancy to me hitting the heavy bag. However, like I try to synchronize with the music, and so I'm going to hit the heavy bag anyway. But by throwing on Journey's song and that's sizzling in the background, and I'm playing with the music while I'm playing with the bag, while I'm playing with life, I mean, come on. You can do that all day long, all day long. You can do it while you're washing the dishes. You can find a rhythm, jazz. You can be out on the mountain bike, EDM, techno, whatever. I've ridden the mountain bike to every single genre of music. And any random song that I pull up, I can work with the music while I'm working the bike, while I'm working the planet. And so music to me is an enricher of my life. It isn't a distraction. It isn't a way to deal with things. It isn't anything other than like dialing up not the musical volume, but dialing up the enjoyment of life volume just one notch by turning on music.
So then let me ask you this. I'm going to come back to you, Tom. Can it be a detraction? Can music get in the way? Can it affect your life in a negative way?
If it's a song that I really don't like, then then maybe, especially if it's a song that I have to play on stage and you're like, I hate this song. That has happened before, but that's part of something that I learned is that like performance is theater, rock and roll is theater. 2 weeks ago I was in New Jersey, and I was in front of 4,000 people at this beach country fest, and we had equipment malfunctions like you've never believed. And this was my first show with this particular group, um, and like an esteemed country artist, and the equipment that I was using basically was completely failing. And it was until 8 minutes past our supposed downbeat that I finally got something that I could work with that was actually passing signal and workable. And then we had to press on with the show. But that was probably one of the highest level stresses that I've ever had. And then all of a sudden I've got to be cool and collected because I'm performing, which is basically acting.
Shaun, what do you think? You think it could be a detraction at some point?
I think it sucks, Tom, that you had to go through that. But I also like double thumbs up it because you had to work through it. And I mean, like, come on. When you work through those kind of problems, the next problem is less of a problem. And so that is life, man. Bring on the problems. Let me work through the problems. I'll figure it out. I'll take my lumps. I'll pick up a few scars, but I'll be better for it a year from now, 2 years from now, 1,000 years from now. And so I think it's great. It sucks though, because you feel it in the moment. Because maybe we'll do it this way. Maybe Tommy was feeling it because of his ego. Maybe Tommy was feeling it because he was letting people down, his sense of responsibility. Maybe he was feeling it because it wasn't what he'd visualized. Maybe it was a freaking ton of things. And I bet there was several going on all at once. That's the beauty of the maelstrom of life, man, the chaos of it. Like, I'll bet weeks later, you were still thinking about little things that led up to it, that were involved in the moment, that post moment, you could have managed all of those things just a bit better. But, that's for next time, not for that time. because that time was just a lesson. And so I think it's great that, you know, I wouldn't wish it on you, but
Yeah.
I think it's great that it happens so that you're better for it, in to some degree.
Definitely. And like, for example, it was all boiled down to a cable, a 5-pin MIDI cable that had failed, but it had been working for my buddy for the past 18 months. And it decided to fail on the first day that I was using it, which is kind of hilarious. Like, if it can happen, it will happen, you know. So
I love it
Murphy.
when those stresses come in. When
But you can
it's
learn
gotta
a
be that
lot
one
about a
cable.
person in that moment, hey? Because, you know, when you're explaining the cable, I was just thinking of Chance when we were at Operation Pegasus Jump. Chancey
I was
Boy was
thinking the
out
same
there.
thing.
And, you know, he was setting up a podcast. It was going to be, you know, a bunch of the dudes all sitting in a frickin' 1,000,000-degree Fahrenheit army tent. It was bonkers. And Chance was having some problems with the cables. It was hot in there, but Chance was like the surface of the sun melting down hot. Like he was feeling the moment. All eyes were on him and sweat's dripping off his nose. I was sweating just watching him sweat. We were just trying to help out, but like there was a lot of pressure on him to deliver in that point. It all got figured out. No big deal. He didn't crack or, you know, break down or anything like that. But here's what I love about that moment. Till the day he dies, he will never forget that moment. And I bet every year, Chance, correct me if I'm wrong, but I bet every year since then, or every half a year since then, you look at that moment just a little bit differently. Now I bet you're looking at it with a bit of fondness. But in the moment, there wasn't a whole lot of, yes, this is awesome.
No, there was not a lot of yes, this is awesome in the moment. It was, and actually yesterday on Canada Day, a lot of the dudes used the picture from that episode for the because they had the big the maple leaf parachute along the back of this tent, and great shot. Whoever took that photo was it was a great shot, but yeah, it was hot and it sucked, and my cables weren't working, and things weren't recording when they were supposed to be recording, and like it was just a complete storm. Sean and Seb were trying to feed me BioSteel. They're just trying to pour it down my throat because I was in the heat. But to your point, those are all great moments to look back on and say, you know what? Okay, I managed that. And man, did I ever learn now to check my cables and make sure everything works and do this all of the rehearsals way ahead of time rather than when everyone's sitting in their chairs staring at you trying to get the work done.
Oh yeah, it's a big thing.
It's brutal. But have there been any other moments like that, Tom, that you can pull on now to look back at and kind of laugh?
Well, my favorite of all time would have to be when I walked off stage at the Grand Ole Opry. I played with this classic country artist, Tanya Tucker, and we played at the Opry. And then after I walked off stage, I said, man, I got to go to the bathroom. I looked down, my fly was unzipped the entire time. But thankfully, my guitar was covering it. But that was one of my most embarrassing / funniest experiences.
That's amazing. I love it. I gotta ask you about this in terms of does philosophy ever come into the musical process for you? Because I mean, on the show we talk philosophy quite a bit. We talk about, well, pretty much everything, but we always dive deeper. We try to figure out something more, the nuances of life. Does that play into your music a lot now, or are you still very like trying to maintain a technical capacity, if that makes sense?
Well, part of my philosophy is just trying to it's kind of like I actually learn a lot from you guys, like some of the sayings, like you don't rise to the occasion, you fall to the level of your training, things like that. I use those sayings, I embody that all the time. um if it's not if but when, things like that. Like there's a lot of sayings that I use from the military that I would say that this is 100% part of my philosophy.
I like it. Sean, what do you think? Got any thoughts?
So remind me how long you've been a professional musician now, Tom.
Since October 2012.
Okay, so we're going on 14-ish years. And so 14 plus, sorry, about 15. happening there.
Uh,
Sorry, go ahead.
I moved to Nashville in October 2012.
Check. Okay.
And, yeah.
Sorry. So from that point till today, at what point did you own what you are right now?
Shoot. Well, I got this gig with a dude named Daryl Perry in 2013. I found him on Craigslist, and we, yeah. But I was scrounging, man. I was looking for different
I love it.
opportunities, right? So I'm looking on the internet, and back then it was Craigslist, and he said, working country band looking for guitar player, and it was we're gonna work every weekend of the year, and we're gonna drive around to all of the casinos in the South and Southwest, and we're gonna play. And he's a real Texas cowboy that like he's an honest man, treats his guys well, and you show up on time, you do your job, and you perform, and you no matter what, and you get through it. And that was my first gig that I would say that I really I was like making a salary, and this is awesome. And but that was my first gig where I was like, I'm gaining my stage legs. And
So I want to add on to that then, because you hear a lot about, and it's kind of a movie trope as well, of just like, I just follow the music, man. I just got to do what I got to do to get where I'm going. We were talking about this earlier before we went live, of you're kind of a musical mercenary at this point, right? Like you're a bit of a contractor. And when does that shift? When does that, like, I just want to play the music, I just want to play, to this is a business, I have a job to do, I need to be able to do this, XYZ, da 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 da. And then does it ever bleed back into, once you have the business side of it down, back into just being about music again?
It really has to do with money. For example, like if I have a job to do, I'm doing it, and it doesn't matter. A lot of times, like last night, I was doing a recording session for a song that almost made me physically ill because it was so bad, but I got it done. However, if I'm on my own and I'm relaxed and I can get into the vibe or something like that, that's where I can catch my own vibe. And that's, doesn't always have to do with money. Especially, I don't have any music released yet, but I will. And I'm kind of doing my own science projects on other artists right now until I can feel like I have two other country artists who are really great artists and quite esteemed. And I'm producing their music, so I play a lot of the instruments on it, and I'll record their vocals, and I do all the production essentially on computers. So as I'm working through these different, I call it science project. It's not a science project. It's not even an experiment at this point. But I am actively working on these guys, but I'm kind of using it as an experiment for myself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I'm tracking. Production is it's a beast in and of itself. When you have to sit down and work, just sitting on a computer, either editing, or for me, when I'm doing edits of the show and the clips and things and so on and so forth, it's rewarding to get the outcome, to get the video, and it comes out and it's like awesome and everything works together and you're like, yeah, this is sweet. But the steps in between it are a slog. It's a bit of a walk through a swamp of just like, oh god, I gotta get through this and then that and the other thing.
Oh yeah, that's like speaking an entire language in itself. But I've got my key commands down pretty well now, and I've got my workflow. It's just like the way that I see it, it's like you kind of just got to beat your head against the wall until it's like you poke your head through the wall or something. It feels like it, at least, like especially when I'm learning new software, it's like I'm beating my head against the wall until I get my desired result. But it's coming.
Software is the killer. It really is. Shaun, you got any thoughts?
Yeah, software is the world, and the world is software. And the moment that you learn how to read the Matrix, and I know that's a loose movie reference, but I do believe in it. When you see the code trickling down in front of you, but it's a person in front of you, not code. Well, there's still code to some degree, just like music is code, just like the feeling is code, just software is code. It's all code. And the more that you can understand how it all works together is the moment that you start freaking making the code disappear. And so it doesn't matter how long you've been playing with software. Eventually, if you play with it long enough, the software disappears and it's just you making things happen, not the software. And so finding that rhythm within the structure of whatever you're playing with, and then making the structure disappear and just literally playing in a blank space that things create outcomes just because of your own curiosity or your own spirit. That's where it's at for sure. So I don't really look at it as banging my head against a wall until things become clearer. I just look at it as kind of like, I understand how all of this works. And when I look this way down that dark alley, it's for me to look at it just long enough that everything becomes visible. And so all the structure's in place. I mean, Tom, you've been in the game long enough now that it's all in place. You already see it all. It's just a matter of where you want to look, where do you want to cast your view, what interests your eye, and the moment that you're interested in it, it will appear in a way that you want it to appear in time. And so I don't think you're probably slogging at anything right now. I really don't. I think the slogging has been done. I just think that you're now casting your view in different directions and things are appearing.
Any thoughts on that, Tom?
I love it. I love Shaun's perspective. He always is so unique and motivating to me.
He has a way, that's for sure. And while you were talking, Shaun, it made me think of those there's the little puzzles where you slide blocks around until you get the right image, and you only have the one gap, and you got to work your puzzle around. And it is very much like that, especially when you're doing post-production or any type things like that. You're trying to find the right combination of moves to get it to come out to the picture that you had in the beginning here. It's awesome. Shaun, you got any other questions before I move on?
Just that plays very well into the idea of life. That little game was frustrating, man. Moving the little square tiles around, freaking frustrating when I was a kid. And you know what I did? I shortcutted it. I hacked it. I cheated. And I regret it, but it taught me a lesson at the time. I couldn't figure it out. So what I did was I just pried out one of the tiles, slid everything over and wedged it back in, thought, nailed it. But you know what that is? That's such a freaking chump move. But when you're a kid, you don't see the big picture. You don't even know what it's all about. You just want the win. You just want the outcome. But the outcome is such a fool's paradise. It's learning how to move things correctly. It's learning how to see the pattern of the world in your hand, and just be patient enough for it to appear eventually. But when you're a kid, you don't know that. You're going to hack the system. And I feel like if you don't learn those lessons when you're a kid, which I didn't, but you learn them years later, which I did, then you're not supposed to forget those lessons. You're supposed to hang on to them and keep applying them moving forward. We all have. The three of us have all learned that lesson a long time ago. It's just whether you conveniently choose to forget it from time to time so that you can do your little shortcut thing, And it's a fool's paradise. Again, it's a road to ruin almost. At least a road away from your full sort of abilities here on the planet. And so I love that little tile game, but I'm ratting myself out for cheating at it when I was a kid.
I never cheated. I always did it. The one thing that bothered me though was the fact that it was done. To your point, like when you're complete, well, the fun's over. There's no more puzzle to it. There's no more struggle to it, which is kind of the challenge. Now, to that point though of like lessons when we're learning, Tom, I got to ask you this: what do you think most people don't know about the music industry, first off, or music in general, making music? And what kind of lessons have you learned that you want to pass on to that next generation?
Well, I am 100% the kind of guy who likes the fundamentals. I think it starts out with the fundamentals and the struggle bus, and I don't really believe in shortcuts, much to Shaun's point. But there's a lot of musicians out there, actually. It's kind of crazy, but some dudes are like they're really trying to hop the line in some ways, and it is working to a lot of degrees. People are just, using technology. With the technology we have now, we can make anybody sound like a singer, essentially. It's just a matter of, do they want to be able to just pop out and do it right now, or do they have to do it under their controlled circumstances with their technology, bringing it on stage and stuff? It's the stuff that I have been privy to is unbelievable, and it really, you're not going to sound like a Pavarotti, but you will sound like a singer.
That'll probably help me because I can't sing worth a damn. And Sean knows, he listened to me. It was pretty bad. So the question then is, do you think personal music, like being able to just pick up a guitar and sing and play and stuff like that, do you think that will slowly disappear as technology evolves? Or do you think, like, with AI being able to write songs and produce music and do all this stuff for us, where do you think this is going?
Golly, I think that there's always going to be. I've discussed this a little bit with Sean, but I think there's always going to be some sort of spark for somebody who can just like bust out a song, And there's some singers that I really look up to. Like one guy's called Vince Gill, and he's like the king of just jumping on stage and crushing it in like it could be like the strangest thing with the $2 pawn shop guitar. Like he'll just crush it all the way. And actually, my wife, Molly Brown, is like that too. She will just destroy with anything, anytime, any place. But now this is interesting because I know of some singers who have paid to make their voice into AI, so then they can not have to sing on demos. So like a songwriter group, let's say, will write a song for this artist, pitch it to the artist, and then that artist they'll either use the technology to change whoever's voice into that person's voice, so the singer can hear the song that's being pitched to them in their own voice without having sung it at all. Or they will have their voice changed to that AI voice, so then they don't have to sit in the studio and sing a demo because they've just had it already done with AI.
Sean, what do you think? You think this will disappear slowly or what?
Bear with me, boys. I can't help what goes through my brain
Strap
sometimes.
Strap in. Here we go.
I'm so sorry for what I'm about to put you through. So when you were saying that, here's what came into mind. So we're going back several thousand years ago in a cave with it's nighttime, it's winter. We've got a fire going in there. The small clan is in there just basically surviving. And, we're all sort of cavemen. Someone in the cave at some point is going to spark up some sort of music. I don't know what that'll be, banging two stones together, or, guttural sort of singing or something. There'll be some form of art. There'll be some form of human communion. There'll be some form of sharing, and it just won't be talk. There will be the musicality of the universe will enter into the equation at some point, right? So we've got that. And it's an intimate setting. It's a personal setting. But outside the cave, nighttime, the wind is howling. And if you listen carefully, you can hear the musicality of the universe outside the cave. Do you know what I'm saying? You can be in the cave experiencing personal music, or you can have the universality of the world whistling outside the cave on the wind. And so which one do you prefer in the moment? Probably the hanging out with humans and experiencing the intimacy of a real interaction. But I also believe that there's a time and place for the wind. You know what I'm putting across? It is both of them can exist at a time of your choosing. And there's no stopping the wind, just like there's no stopping AI musicality. And so, which one do you prefer now? Which one will you prefer 20 years from now? I don't know. But the wind will always be there, just like the cave will always be there. You get to choose nowadays.
Let me ask you this then. Because this is where my brain goes, is that do you think that the advent of musical AI and all these things, do you think it will create an opportunity for those who really want it, if that makes sense? So the people that really want to be musicians, they want to do their work, they want to be absolutely fundamental musicians, they want to be awesome poets and develop their own skill sets to such a degree that it sets them apart from AI. Because you see this in basically every field, is you have your kind of cream of the crop, you have the elites, and then you have your vast majority of people. You have the people who aren't involved in it. The people who listen to radio music, and it may be good music, but it sells and it's consistent, and it doesn't change that much. That looks like the road for AI, but the true artists will kind of rise to the cream of the crop, if that makes sense. Do you think that will happen with AI music? It'll separate the wheat from the chaff, I guess is my question. What do you think, Tom?
Well, I feel like yes, definitely. And I mean, the AI is only mapped off of things that it's heard, right? It's not really inventing any new style of music that I know of so far, and I've messed with it a bunch. It's just kind of regurgitating and homogenizing like some stuff that it's been fed to popular music or something like that. And I will tell you, it sounds mighty good. Some of the stuff, I'm like, I didn't know that was a fake singer until that person told me, and that's terrifying. But no, I think that like somebody who's inventive and is truly, I do believe that the cream of the crop rises to the top. That is my, I, I love to think that. I hope that is true.
Shaun, you got any thoughts? Do you think the cream will rise?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. Always. It will always rise to the top. It's just a matter of what you think the top is. You know what I'm saying? And so if you're making an effort in life, anyone is making an effort in life, you're going to rise. But the top is for you to define. And so, we could call that a glass ceiling to some degree. If you think the cream is supposed to be here, but there's this potential here, what happened to this stuff where you capped out down at the bottom, but you had all this stuff left to play with? The cream is you, and the top is you. And so right now you're at your top. Everyone's at their top until tomorrow. Hopefully you're a bit higher. But I think that the cream will rise to the top is always the way. The only limiter is you.
Okay. So I'm going to get a little bit philosophical here. And we were talking earlier about music being a language. And if music it's kind of a universal language, because it doesn't matter where you go, there's always music, right? It doesn't matter what region of the world you're in, there's going to be music. Tom, this one specifically for you, what do you think your music is saying to the world? What do you think you're trying to provide?
It's probably like a reflection of your soul or spirit or something like that, or maybe what's inside of you. Like I said, I haven't released any music under my own name or an alias yet. But I've been working on all these other people to try and sharpen my knife. And so it is a tough question for me, but I think that hopefully people will be able to get a message of resilience and hope through my music.
I like that. Now, Shaun, we're making music with the podcast and all kinds of things. We're just making a different style of music. What do you think ours is saying to the world?
Well, that's a good question. And so it's a tricky one. Here's why. Because as we play with the podcast, as we create musicality to some degree, people who get to see that virtually don't really feel our spirit. Whereas I've hung out with Tom. And like the moment that we shook hands is like, I know exactly what this guy's all about. and it's all good, you know. But you kind of got to be around a person to feel them, like in 3D. You've got to be able to feel them, be in close proximity to see what they're about, feel what they're about, to then understand where they'll probably go, what they might turn into, what they're capable of to some degree. But on the podcast, people don't really get that. Unless you've shaken my hand, then you probably don't know a lot about me. You see this stuff, and it's just us podcasting and talking with the super rad guests and diving deep and playing around with the world, as it were. But like, this is my digital avatar. You want to know me on a much deeper level? Frickin' shake my hand, and you'll know way more. And if you get to spend time with me in 3D, you'll realize that the podcast is just a part of me, a part of my musical symphony, as it were. It's a single instrument. And so the musicality that we're creating over here, Chance, to your metaphor, I guess we are, to some degree, creating music. But I feel like it's only with one instrument, because I got a bunch of instruments in my life, you know? I hope that made sense.
I'm tracking. I disagree slightly, because I think that I agree with you in the fact that, yes, in person is always better. That's like, it is more whole. You're getting more whole sense of a person for sure. But music is, it allows us to, and I'm using music as a general term right now, but like with the podcast, or what we share with the world allows us to express something that we otherwise can't, right? There's a level of expression in the podcast that we can give that is not givable in any other way. This how we can give to the world, right? Because it's limited being physically present. I can only be physically present with however many people. Even Tom, I mean, if you're at a stadium, massive sold out stadium, you have what, 80,000 people?
Could be, yeah.
But that's it. And there's 8 billion people in the world. So I'm wondering, what do you think music allows us to express something that we otherwise can't? What do you think?
What is it? Music speaks when words fail. Something like that is a saying that I've heard. I don't remember where I heard it from, but yeah, there's definitely like, it's obviously vibrations. Music is just vibe. And people are like, oh, I dig your vibe. Well, like Shaun. And everything's just vibration. Music can be translated on our computers to ones and zeros. That's how we digitize our music, through ones and zeros. And then we somehow turn that into our headphones, and we turn that into a vibe, and it becomes the soundtrack to Shaun's day as he's ripping the single track down Snake.
And everybody knows that. See, so this is another beautiful point, that is music to a lot of people, and that even without the music, just the action in and of itself gets to express something to people that we wouldn't be able to do with words. Shaun, you got any thoughts?
I do. I've been thinking this right from the get-go about the vibrational aspect of music, how I synchronize with music. It's, for me, that's why I didn't say it right at the start, because I didn't want to spoil the entire podcast. When I'm listening to music, believe it or not, I rarely listen to the words. I'm just listening to the vibe. Like, if it's just a guitar solo, and I say just, if it's a single guitar solo, it allows me to focus on the frequency, the synchronicity, the flow, the vibe, the energy of a guitar. And somehow words, it's not that they're a distraction, but they're almost an additional layer that I don't need. When I was on the heavy bag this morning, listening to Journey, Keep on Run, like whatever words are being sung, I'm not dismissing them. I'm not downplaying them, but I'm just not upplaying them like a lot of people do. And this is, I know no one will really pay much attention to this in the future, but if I put a song or a track to any video, like if I'm ripping down Snake and I attach a song to it, it's rarely because of the words. Rarely. It's mostly about the feeling that I'm imbuing into the video at that point. It really isn't. I'm not trying to put a message out with the verbiage. That's rare for me in a song. But I do know, in direct contrast, that a lot of people on social media will choose a song and they'll choose it specifically for the words that the singer is putting across. And to some degree, it's not that it's dismissive, but it's not reliant on the frequency or the vibe of the music. It's just the words. And I see just the words as almost like I'm not going to say it's a cheap representation of the frequency of the moment, but it's certainly a thin veneer of what's actually going on when you're listening to music. So again, to be clear, I feel like our modern world, and this might be because my very first musical was like 10 years of piano. I wasn't singing. I was just playing Mozart. And there's an entire massive language in Mozart without a single word being said. And so maybe that's why I feel the way I do about music. I am less focused like the modern world is on the verbiage, and I am more focused on the frequency that I'm picking up.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that, Tom?
I think it's really funny because I feel like there must be two types of people, like, because some people are like all about the words and they know every single word, and you'll be playing a song and they'll be able to sing along to anything. And I'm not that dude. I'm like focused about the music. I'm all focused on the music, and I often, I mean, the words will come, but I don't care about them as much. Now, like some songwriters, they go to extreme lengths to get the words perfectly dialed in, because this is their sonnet. They are a Shakespeare, and they're very careful with their words. And some songwriters are not. Some songwriters are like, there's your song. Some people are like carving a song for 3 years. Some of the best songs have taken a long time because they've been constantly refined. And those people are really caring about their lyrics. And then it goes to me and I don't even listen to them.
It's funny. I'm a lyric guy. I like the lyrics. I like the messages behind them. But to your point, you can tell when they're kind of sloppy. You can tell when they're not really, they don't really mean a lot to the person. But I do really like the lyrics, and it is always better if the vibe and the lyrics match. That is the hard part to find.
But that isn't too often. That's what I mean. That isn't frequent. That isn't all the time. And so then it comes down to this. When you're putting together the Clippy McClip, which your clips are frickin' rad, as you know, when you're putting together that clip, you're choosing things that are like, you're focused on the verbiage. You're trying to put a message on top of a message. And I think it muddies the waters a little bit. Because if you put music to the message, now it's a purer signal. Now it's a purer frequency. The moment that you start overlaying messages on messages on messages, now you're like that beautiful mind. You think, we all think that we've got a beautiful mind, that we're so crafty and we're so deep and we're so jazz hands with the moment. I think that it's not necessary. Like, keep it clean, keep the signal clean, keep the frequency, the vibe pure, as it were. And so I find, and like, if there's 50% of the planet that just feels the frequency rather than focuses on the singer's singular message, well, now you're trying to dial into a single dude's ideas. Whereas when you strip out the verbiage, now you're dialing into the music's ideas, which are not carved in stone. You get to play with the frequency when you're then having to listen to the plonking words, plonk, 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 as if that is like the message. And I don't think that's the message.
I love it. But when I do the clips, I use specifically the music that I use has no lyrics. I always use just instrumental stuff because I don't want to muddy the waters. Exactly, like the messages needs to be clear. But if I have just a video and I have like a written verbiage, then I'll use lyrics to help. Because people, when you're watching the reels and stuff like that, like if it's just me doing jujitsu and I have verbiage underneath as a caption, I mean, I use music with lyrics most of the time because most people just watch the video. They don't really want to sit down and read the. They're not going to read the captions. At least that's what I see from my point of view. We are just about. Tom, you got any thoughts?
I was just gonna say, like, a lot of those things you don't really know if they have their sound on their phone or anything like that either. You know.
That's a very good point. Who knows? They might just be watching on the bus without any anything on. Who knows? Just watching me roll around on the mats. Now we're just about an hour here, and I really appreciate Tom you jumping on here. This has been a great conversation. Any final thoughts? Anything at all on music, on the industry, on Nashville, on the collective? Whatever you got.
Well, I'm super grateful for the collective for having me. Thank you, Chance. Thank you, Shaun. I've been a fan for at least a year now. I've been watching you guys, rolling down the highway. I might be in Nebraska. I'm watching the collective, so appreciate you guys for having me. The final thoughts on Nashville. It's still here, and we're still kicking, and we're still making music here in Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, and we're not stopping anytime soon.
I love it. Shaun, you got any final thoughts?
Dude, what a bummer. It's coming up. We're wrapping it up. We just basically got started. I feel like we were just hanging out, it almost feels like we barely touch music. We're just like chilling, you know what I'm saying? So what a drag that it's got to end. Final thoughts. Music, how it impacts your life. I would say this. You can learn a lot about yourself based on the music that you're listening to and how you use it. So if you've got to go hit your workout with Metallica every single day, if Metallica is the only thing that gets you out of bed, start thinking about that. You should be able to do anything in your life to any kind of music rather than using it as your lever, the only lever you've got to do that thing. So when I'm on a raging ride, I can listen to classical or I can listen to Metallica. It's no factor to me. I'm going to go smash anyway. But the music is what adds the richness to the ride rather than the singular focus on just Metallica. So challenge yourself. If you're listening to this right now, challenge yourself throughout this week to use a different form of music to go hit the gym. Get your jazz on. See how that treats you in the weight room. Get your blues on. See how that treats you when you're cooking. There's tons of ways that you can shape your life in unique ways if you just choose the right kind of music. And what's the right kind? Probably a different kind than the one you're listening to right now.
Got to throw some Tennessee whiskey on while you're pumping iron. That's the way to do it.
Arnold said that there's Arnold Schwarzenegger in his Pumping Iron book, he said his ideal gym has no music. It's just a concrete basement, so he keep the focus up. But I don't know about that. I kind of like it.
I think he probably had some music going on in his head, and it was probably a little bit, I'm going to teach them all a lesson,
Yeah, true. But I will say this. I feel like there's a little bit of like Pavlov's dog in me, because there's one song, Let's Get It Up by AC/DC, for when I'm trying to hit my top deadlift. It's always Let's Get It Up, and it's always when that chorus hits, that's when I go for it, and that's like the only way I can do it. So maybe I should try something else now.
What I'm going to give my go-to, if I want to go smash on something, it's going to be AC/DC Shoot to Thrill all day long. Things are going to get done to that song. Chance, what do you got?
Those are good. I think my go-to right now, Jukebox Hero is probably one of my favorites all time.
Dude, I was listening to it yesterday on my ride.
So good. It's so good. I do have one question for you. I'm going to throw a little wrench into the gears here. I got one last question for you guys, and then we can shut her down. I have this written down on my other window here. If your life had a soundtrack, what song would be playing right now, and why? Tom, I'm going to come to you. I know it's a hard question. What do you think?
Well, I have been listening to the First Blood Rambo soundtrack by Jerry Goldsmith is the composer, super famous composer. And the first song, I implore you to check it out because it's just a great soundtrack. And I've been putting my phone in my pocket and walking around the house doing things with that soundtrack. So it's the First Blood soundtrack.
I like it. I like it. Sean, what do you think?
I'm torn because it's two completely different soundtracks. And it's really just based on how I'm feeling in the moment. So the first one is Dune 2, the soundtrack to Dune 2. And the reason that I like that soundtrack is because it's atmospheric, it's epic, it's like, it's expansive, it's bigger than you can see. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's beyond your vision, as it were, when you're listening to some of those songs. It's freaking epic. And then another soundtrack that I quite like, believe it or not, it's Tron.
Oh, that's a good one.
I love Tron. And so there's songs in there that just like, oh, it's go time. So it's no Shoot to Thrill by AC/DC. However, if it's a soundtrack, I dig on Tron. Yeah. Dune 2 and Tron.
I have to say, there's a new group that I just actually started listening to called Sons of Legion. And the song Remember My Name is rolling through my head right now as like a where I'm at in life. I think that's such a great one. And
dude, get it on a Clippy McClip then.
I will put it up. And just there's a comment right here at the end. Claire Soundluck jumped in here. Training for Fencing to Rage Against the Machine is my favorite. Yeah. Yes, I love it. That's a good one. Other than that, I got nothing else. So as we all continue to learn, build, and grow, we'll see y'all next week. Chimo. Thanks everybody for watching and being part of the collective. If this has sparked any thoughts or resonated with you, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us grow and keeps the conversation going. We'll see y'all next time.